think your levels are about right.
Good, we got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Better? Yep.
Dean and waterboarding Jason. On today's show, is the wall high enough?
It could be 10 feet higher if you keep up with that attitude.
Is it see-through enough? I think it's a fence now, isn't it?
I'm offended.
Oh, pun delicious. Anyway,
Welcome to Punderland.
let's smash straight into the douchebag wall. And I watched a new show this week on Netflix. I was pleased to see there's a new series called Shooter. It's very similar to the film called Shooter, starring Mark Wahlberg, who is a sniper who's framed to look like he's going to kill the president.
Is it in fact the same as the film?
A lot of scenes where he walks slowly away, not facing the explosion that's behind him.
Yeah, that sort of idea. And, I really loved the Shooter movie. I know it's a bit cheesy, but I enjoyed it. It was a fine Mark Wahlberg production.
I don't recall any details.
I've seen
about
it, and I don't remember much about it at all.
I know-
Apart from the scene where he's walking slowly away from an explosion.
That's just every Mark Wahlberg movie,
Probably.
except Ted.
Mark Wahlberg-
Maybe.
And there's the reason I haven't seen Ted.
Mark Wahlberg has his fingers in this new production. He's one of the producers, which accounts for why there's some strong Christian themes in this series.
Does
which
it?
I
Because
find
he was the
probably
producer on Entourage, which didn't have strong Christian themes.
Is he Christian?
Big time Catholic.
Oh, wow.
Irish Catholic, probably.
Yes.
So, like Mel Gibson Catholic, anti-Jew Catholic?
No, I don't know.
Isn't he? He's welcome back in Hollywood now, so
Oh,
I
right.
think he's done his time in the wilderness, in a desert, I guess it would be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a movie of Mel's which I have to go and see. It's getting excellent reviews. Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh yes.
It's supposed to be very, very good. Sorry, we butted in on your...
Does that also blame the Jews?
No, I don't think this one does. This is about a Seventh-day Adventist who... It's a true story about a pacifist in World War II who refused
Conscientious objector.
refused to hold a gun of any kind and was, oppressed and brutalised because of it by his group, and then proceeded to save about 70-odd Marines at
Yeah, won a lot of
Okinawa.
medals and a lot of awards.
Without a gun?
Without a gun.
For heroic actions.
Yeah, it actually looks like a really good movie.
Sold me on the film.
And all the reviews I've seen are people saying, "God damn it, Mel Gibson really knows how to do action movies."
Does Mel Gibson play the
No,
pacifist?
he's not in it. No,
That's a shame.
It's behind the lens.
it's Andrew Garfield who's the pacifist. Actually,
Was it Spider-Man?
was Spider-Man number 4?
I don't.
I can't keep up.
Is that one of the Spider-Man?
I think it was one of the Spider-Man. Yeah,
I've seen a trailer for it. Looks pretty decent.
it looks fantastic. Yeah.
Does he like lasagna? I'm just trying to get how much Andrew he is and how much Garfield he is. Where's the line?
Okay.
I'm glad you clarified because
Yeah.
I was hanging there.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah, well, just not really much to carry on with the shooter, except that it's it is what it is. It's
It appeals to your particular various low bar sensibilities that you
yeah,
require.
that is the excellent way to put it. But yeah, the only reason I mentioned it today was not as a recommendation because, well, it is a low bar. But was you had these strong Christian themes. The whole show's not preoccupied by it, but it's this huge symbolism. Is the one scene at the dinner table where they do grace.
Okay.
And they go on about how it's the most, the daughter says to the father, that's the best grace ever, and blah, blah, blah. And then there's another scene where a gritty FBI agent's at home chilling, doing the rosary.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's a little bit odd.
One episode, 2 Christian symbols that have nothing to do with the plot.
Okay. I also started watching a news TV series, which had been recommended to me many years ago, probably by Dean. Fringe.
Oh, Fringe is good for the first 2.5, 3 seasons.
Okay, well, I'm only
Really good.
I'm like 3 episodes in. So
Yeah, that first season is amazing. The second season's amazing.
the first episode grabbed me. I mean, it was really well produced and it was quite shocking.
Yeah, I think it's a J.J. Abrams production.
Yeah, it is.
And it just, as with all J.J. Abrams productions, after about 2.5, 3 seasons,
runs out of ideas.
it just goes off the deep end. Yeah, that's really sad.
No, it was good. Very much an X-Files kind of thing.
That's
It's got
Rupert
one of the
Murdoch.
actors from Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, that's Rupert.
Pacey.
It's got,
Yes.
It's got
the
Pacey.
girl in it is Rupert Murdoch's granddaughter. So
Oh.
it kept getting cancelled and then all of a sudden uncancelled. Mysteriously. Oh, it used to air on Fox as well, obviously.
Oh.
So they would go through at the end of the season, it would be canned, and then, no, actually it's back on the schedule. Then it would be canned, back on the schedule, canned.
At least my first thing wasn't saying how did that lead actress get her role, because she's quite solid in it. So
No,
it's
she's
not
great.
like it's Rupert that's keeping her in the role necessarily, except that obviously he kept the show on air.
Yeah, for 5 seasons, I think, but I stopped after.
She's notorious spelling.
Wow.
Yeah, that's probably a fair call.
Where has Tori gone?
I don't care.
It's good. It's good so far. 3 episodes in, and it's it scratches that X-Files itch.
How much of you're done talking about that now? I've decided. How much of The Man in the High Castle did you guys watch?
2 episodes.
2 episodes.
And
The
then you
free
stopped.
Well, no,
And
because
then I stopped.
at
Yes.
the time there was only 2 episodes available on the easy.
I just picked them up to watch,
And
it's pretty good.
Oddly enough, it's weird that you should mention it now. I just heard someone else mention it, that they were watching binge watching Man in the High Castle, and I went, wasn't that crap show that I really went off after the first couple of episodes?
Yeah, it gets better.
Okay.
It's pretty good. I'm 4 episodes in pilot.
This is only going to reaffirm the network's model of watching TV series now. Wait till they release an entire season or 2 and then binge watch the whole lot.
But it's not the network option. That's the Netflix.
That's what I mean. Sorry, did
Yeah.
I say network? The
Yes.
Netflix option, yes. Where it gives you the opportunity to ride out those soft episodes.
Well, it's true, and also the regular broadcasting is just weird now. Like after the Trump election, Chelsea wasn't on for a week, and then she came back. She had 2 episodes this week instead of the usual.
Did she
3.
mention the fact that she wasn't on?
Yeah,
or was
she
it-
talked about it. Eventually talked about it, but it was just fucking weird. She was talking about if Trump wins, I'm going to move to Spain, and then she wasn't on for a while. I was like, did she go to Spain? Because it could have happened. Didn't happen. Thankfully, she's under contract.
She's not going to go through with it and
No.
go to Spain?
No,
Oh.
going to stick around, try and motivate Americans to be good and fight the good fight.
Chelsea Handler?
Mm.
No, she doesn't motivate people to be good.
I know. Look, she's growing up a bit, I think.
Okay.
Which at the age of 41 is maybe that's okay. It's all right to start being a bit more adult in your 40s.
Mm.
That's what I'm planning on doing.
So circling back to The Man in the High Castle, Jason, you wrote it off. You weren't happy with it after 2 episodes.
Just it seemed it from what I'd heard about it, The Man in the High Castle, it was this. There was a lot of intrigue and stuff like that. And after the first 2 episodes, all I got was this American action series kind of thing, where there was some very basic themes they were playing out and not really extending. I didn't give it much of a chance, I've got to admit. It was, like, as I said, 2 episodes. But
so the whole vision of an alternate World War II
it wasn't
dystopia, you just not really interested in
Well,
that.
no, that's
effort?
what sucked me in initially.
Not enough plot.
But that's what sucked me in initially, and then it was just, it was just a very cheap sort of few action sequences, and that's where it kind of left it. It was, but as I said, 2 episodes, possibly not a fair go.
Mm. Yeah, fair enough.
From a plot pacing, it was quite slow. I didn't mind that. I just loved the vision of this alternate outcome of World War II.
It's not as slow as the Americans, which I happen to love as well. That's like slow burn.
Yeah, I need to get back
which
into
I
that.
love. And this reminds me a little bit of that, but it's not as good. But it's still interesting to watch. And like, it's only 4 episodes. I'm not going to spoil things.
The best thing
But
about the
I like
Americans
the
is it's not
contrast.
an alternate history. It's
No.
actually playing out the
actual history.
Yeah.
Which I quite like.
with an interesting perspective.
So yeah, I enjoy this. I think it's worth picking up. Again, only 4
Okay.
episodes in. If it goes to shit on episode
Just out
5,
of interest, is that showing on anything that I might have access to, like Stan? Or
look, maybe, I don't know. I don't have Stan.
No, it was on.
Understand.
It was an Amazon
It's
production.
an Amazon Prime production. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also have the new Top Gear / what's it called? The Grand Tour. That's
Yes.
just started broadcasting on Amazon as well.
Did you watch it?
Not yet.
Okay.
I want to give it a go.
that's the show where they've replaced Jeremy.
No, Jeremy Clarkson's. This is Jeremy Clarkson's new show
Competition.
with James May and
Oh right, so he
Hammond as well.
took the whole gang with him
yeah, they
and fuck it, we'll create our own show.
So how did that work?
Funded by
I
Amazon
thought-
Prime.
I thought they had non-compete clauses in their contracts.
I don't know. I don't think they're that enforceable. And it's an American company, so if they've got a contract in Britain that says they can't compete with the British company, well.
I guess Top Gear's should we have fired him for being a racist prick? Maybe not.
I think that the BBC was the wrong home for him anyway. They probably knew that.
Clearly,
But it made
America's
them
the right home
loads of
for him,
cash.
given their current president and everything now. Jeremy Clarkson fits in right in.
What are you trying to say? That he's a conservative, racist fuckwad?
Yeah, pretty much. I knew there was something I didn't like about him. And apparently that was it.
I kind of like that. He's got
Oh,
that.
you kind of like that about him?
Yep.
Okay.
There's that because Jeremy Clarkson is very obviously
A dick.
but he's a funny dick, and you can see yourself. You can see yourself sometimes having a friend who's a funny dick. It's like I'm looking in a mirror.
In the old Australian metric of how you rate a prime minister, he's a guy you'd want to have a beer with.
Yeah, I'd have a beer with Clarko.
Maybe not agree with all these sentiments about where people fit in the planet, but
He might punch you in the face as well if you try and disagree.
especially if you don't get him his dinner on time.
Yeah. I think there was only no hot dinners, wasn't it? Like
Something
there's
like
only
that.
cold dinners, and so he got angry. So only hot dinner, or there was going to be fisticuffs. No hot dinner ensued. Thus, there were fisticuffs.
Any more douchings?
Nah.
No, all out. All right. Well, while we're on the racist theme, I want to bring up a story that I saw during the week, and it was something that I sent to Waterbourne Dean during the week.
Did you just call me Waterboarding Dean? Okay. My reputation has changed.
And it was interesting because Dean picked up on a different point than I actually originally sent it to him for. So I was just going to open up the floor to perhaps peruse Dean's thoughts on this. But what it was...
I like this chat we had.
It was a very brief chat because we didn't.
I know. I deliberately didn't get into too much details. Like this will come up on the show.
So, in the West Virginian county of Clay, a worker was fired who was working for a charitable organisation, not necessarily to do with the city of Clay, but it was for the Virginia county structure somehow, was fired after posting on Facebook, and I quote, "It will be refreshing to have a classy, beautiful, dignified First Lady in the White House. I'm tired of seeing ape in heels." Following that, Clay's mayor, Beverly Whaling, posted underneath the comment, "Just made my day, Pam." So the fallout from that was the mayor tendered her resignation in after a petition with 121,000 signatures came about. Well, one of those online petitions demanding her termination. So she fell on her own sword, and apparently Beverly was fired. I couldn't actually find specific information of who fired her, why she was fired specifically. So that's a bit of a grey area. Because I did do a bit of a search for
With
the
the
show.
discussion we had, see, this is an area, like a particular axe of mine. If someone writes something on Facebook in their free time on a private account, that reflects on them as a person. But I get very angry when their work seems like, well, you can't say that because you work for us. Like, no, I feel like you can say what I want. In my own time.
The only place I would differ here is if you're working for a private company, private institution, it's well within their rights to fire you.
Oh no, I agree. It's within their rights to fire you, but
with that as a reason.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, to some extent, even in your private life, you are representing them to some extent. If you make that known about yourself that you're a racist prick, they have every right to say, well, we don't want racist pricks working for us because it reflects badly on us to some extent, especially in high-profile positions like that.
Yeah, maybe. In the States, you have First Amendment right that protects freedom of speech. They can't necessarily fire
you can say
just
what
for
you
that.
like. It doesn't mean that they have to employ you afterwards.
No, and they wouldn't renew your contract, but I don't feel that sacking someone for something they said is cool.
It's interesting.
If they went, hey, we want to talk about redundancy and we're going to pay you to go, then that would be a different thing.
I mean, if they don't have such workplace protections as we do in Australia,
no, not at all. You can.
We don't have.
Then they can fire you on a whim, and that's the game you play.
We don't have freedom of speech protections here either.
I know.
So.
Well, we have implied freedom of speech.
Yeah, but I think the racial vilification laws would get you on the ape in heels comment.
Yeah, I don't. If it was a private, like, what I don't understand is, if you're working for a public institution, then do you have protection to a certain extent? I don't know, but a private employer in America, from what I understand, can just fire you for any reason. They can fire you for being gay in many states.
Yes.
So,
true.
I mean, using racist language, I think is that's a no-brainer when it comes to firing someone.
I find it odd that they talk about Melania Trump as being a dignified first lady as well.
Yeah.
That was the other part that got me. I was like, well, on the one hand, I'm okay with people saying whatever the hell they want.
She's more dignified than her husband.
And on the other, yeah, I guess.
So
if that's the comparison you're making, I feel they're comparing her and Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama is arguably one of the most dignified first ladies America's had in recent memory.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
And then Melania Trump is an immigrant coming and taking American jobs.
one of the most prime jobs there is.
You know what I'm saying?
That of first spouse.
They come out here, they take their jobs. The president does nothing about it.
Isn't that an irony, isn't it? That Trump, who's all about American jobs, the very first thing he does is get an immigrant to take one of the top jobs there is.
Yeah. So it's interesting anyway. I think it's an odd case. The mayor part is the other part that's weird. It's like, you made my day, Pam. I don't know if someone should resign for that either, because you don't know what the context is of you made my day is.
I don't know what do we have to dwell on it too much to really like?
Well,
she didn't come out and say that's reprehensible, Pam. I wish you hadn't said that. No, she said you made my day.
Yeah.
If someone tells you they're a racist, Dean, let them tell you.
No, but see, you made my day by being a fucking dickhead. Like, you made me laugh at your dickheadery.
Okay.
My
only guess is the people around her probably understood exactly what she meant by it.
Yep.
And I don't know, if you're in a position like a mayoral position like that, you need the people around you to respect your opinion and do the job you want them to do. If there's a crisis of confidence because you've been expressing racist stuff on Facebook, maybe that's an issue.
Well, this is the reason I originally...
It depends if she can continue doing her job after she's done something like that.
But
and perhaps
she resigned. Both women also deleted their Facebook accounts after this.
They did, and both claimed they
because
weren't
I imagine they were getting
a lot of hate mail.
A lot of hate.
Well, they both claimed they weren't being racist, so that's a whole...
Racists generally don't think they're racist.
Hang on, sorry. What did she call Michelle Obama again?
And Aben Hills.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, we misunderstood something in that comment.
Yeah, we are not in that same headspace, obviously.
But the reason I forwarded this to Dean was not about the person being fired. Was more, I just was bewildered. People would blatantly state something out in public. Now, in my mind, Facebook is not private anymore. You're basically broadcasting in public once you put something on Facebook.
But I think the one thing Trump has allowed happen is that people will put this out in public now. This is the face of America.
Well, on the other
hand,
it's always been there. It's always been there, and now we can say it out in the open.
Well, and Dean's response to this also triggered something that I've always sort of pondered in my mind.
Oh, it's a trigger.
The delineation between free speech and consequence for your actions.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I think free speech should be as much as the government can't come and lock you up for what you say or shut you down, but there still has to be consequences.
That's kind of why I was asking about who was doing the firing, because free speech, censorship is something a government does to prevent you from having any kind of platform whatsoever. You can't claim that a private organisation or a private network is censoring you because they won't let you on Fox News to say you're racist shit, which they would on Fox News anyway. But that's not being censored, because no one's under any obligation to give you the platform to say that stuff. So as long as you're not being locked up or prevented from saying it in the public square or something like that, then you're not being denied your free speech. Yeah. And if as long as the government's not locking you up for doing it, then you're not being denied your free speech.
So if you get fired from
but if you get fired for it, I don't think that's denying your free speech.
Amendment's breach?
I don't think so.
I don't think it's a breach of the First Amendment. I think for me it was the mayor part. Like, as much as I personally find the comments on both parties reprehensible, as an elected official, I don't know, maybe I would try to stick it out a bit more.
Well, I mean, yeah, it depends on if her position was untenable in that situation. I don't know we don't know what kind of back...
It could have been the straw that broke the ape's heels.
Yeah. we don't know what
to borrow her metaphor, it's fine. It's not racist. You can call women apes now.
We don't know what kind of backlash she got for saying that, and whether it was making it impossible for her to do her job, which is quite possible in this environment. Who knows what the situation was? If you're in that role and you can say stuff like that and continue to do your job as it was before, then maybe you don't need to go.
Like President-elect Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. So clearly he doesn't need to resign for saying racist shit. So he's okay.
I'm just saying, if he's setting an example
He is setting the example. That's why
to
it's
the
coming
rest of
out
the
now.
country to follow.
I mean, there was the case in which I was just going to mention, where in a high school where white students were yelling and taunting minority students with "build a wall, build a wall, build a wall," and this was just going on in a high school. I mean, you can't hold those students responsible. They're just echoing stuff they're seeing probably from their parents or something like that. But
I think their parents are
but that's what's being enabled now. They can do that.
I wouldn't want to be in the same school room as those bricks anyway, I guess. Maybe we would, but maybe you help them build the wall. Wall them outside.
Who's going to pay
You
for it?
fuckers
Dean?
stay on the football court field.
Who are you going to make pay for it, Dean?
Mexico.
Are they paying for all the walls now?
I don't know, maybe.
I've got a retaining wall that needs to be built. Mexico pay for that?
Mexico are very generous, from what I understand. So I've got a little bit of international news. So it's more interesting commentary. Anyone got anything else Trump related, or because I want to move to...
I was just going to mention there was a couple of appointments that he's making, like...
Yeah, that's what I was hinting at.
Okay, that's what we're
Because I figured you were going to talk about that.
Yep. There's a couple of choice appointments he's making.
Choice, bro.
Choice. Which totally reinforces the whole issue we've just been talking about for the last 15 minutes.
So we're getting
Go.
into how he's going to drain the swamp.
Well, so appointment number one is Breitbart editor-in-chief and owner. What's his name? Bannon. James
Steve,
Bannon.
James, something like that.
Steve Bannon?
I think it's Steve
That's
Bannon.
Steve Bannon. Yeah. So
I
this,
know that because it's very similar to a friend of mine's name, so it's why
Yes.
like sticks
this
in my
guy
head.
is basically a white supremacist.
So he was a Navy man who then went into banking, corporate banking, and then got into film production and
Media.
along the way got into Breitbart.
Yes. And he is basically an outright unapologetic racist who wants all the Jews out of the country immediately, if not sooner.
It's interesting. See, the two interesting appointments he made during the week was Rance Priebus and then Steve Bannon. Both of them, I think, he feels some sort of debt to for the votes they brought him. One brought him the Republican Party core votes, and the other brought him the crazy vote.
He does seem to be employing on a loyalist basis,
Mm.
which means he's going to be surrounded by a whole bunch of yes men who might have their own agenda, but are also quite happy to play into into Trump's worst instincts, which Bannon will clearly be playing into his racist instincts. Reince Priebus is a bit more of a power broker kind of guy.
He's a more, I feel, useful choice going forwards. It's not quite draining the swamp. It's more
at least he's
replacing the swamp with a different swamp
at least he's a
that
party.
contains someone who was in the last
Something
swamp.
very swampy.
Yeah.
At least Reince Priebus is a party apparatchik, so he actually understands possibly a little bit more how the government works,
Yeah.
and might be of use that way. Because so far, there doesn't seem to be much evidence of that with Trump.
Outside of the... And to be fair, Steve Bannon as well seemed to be pretty... These two people, when they joined his campaign, with the exception of the debates, they managed to keep Trump pretty much on ticket and only reading from the teleprompter and not
For the
not
last-
really just
for the
firing
last
stuff
week
for the
or
last
so.
week. Yeah,
The
they
last-
kept him pretty good towards the end there. So it'll be interesting to see if that's what they're going to bring to this as well, like a bit more of a focused Trump who doesn't just say too many bad things unless you put a microphone in front of him and Hillary Clinton on the other side.
Or a Twitter account.
Or he's speaking.
They managed to take that off him as well, though. They wrestled that out of his control at some point.
Yeah, for the last 2 weeks as
Yeah.
well. I think he's back. I think he's got it back though.
Yeah, he does. But I mean that alone is interesting that these people were able to reach him because he went through 3 or 4 campaign managers,
Yeah,
all of whom quit for the same kind of reason: is that he won't let us do background checks, he won't let us take control of Twitter. Like he's just the candidate is running the campaign.
And so instead, Trump Sinatra'd it, did it his own way, and what do you know?
Fucking won
He
too.
won.
Did you see this weekend he met with Mitt Romney?
No.
They played golf together.
That was lovely.
There was talk, suggestions, rumours in the media that perhaps he might offer Mitt Romney Secretary of State in place of Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, that would actually be a reassuring choice. in some
Except
ways.
the bit where I'm not sure about this theory of theirs is that I recall from the Republican primary debates a moment where Mitt Romney said something along the lines of, Donald Trump wants us to think he's very, very smart. However, when it comes to foreign policy issues, he's very, very not smart. And I remember that line because he said not smart, which I felt was very ham-fisted, which is a very Mitt Romney way of going around things.
Yeah, but at least Mitt Romney would seem to be a steadier hand on the state as Secretary of State.
Yeah.
Would seem to be.
It would be a very, very not bad choice.
Very, very not bad.
Well, in comparison to the names that have been thrown up, yeah.
Oh, Rudy Giuliani, who now leaves him free to take up something like Department of Justice, where he can institute his nationwide stop and frisk policy.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, these names.
They'll give him a colour chart. It'll be like paint samples. You just run your finger down the page, and when you get to a certain
colour,
skin tone, you'll be like, that's the frisk indicator.
This is how we frisk.
Okay.
Yes.
Just think how happy all the albinos will be.
Trump also met with the Japanese Prime Minister. And do you know who he had with him? Which important
special advisor?
Important special advisor that he had.
Who do you have with him?
Ivanka Trump.
His daughter.
His daughter. Apparently, she's pushing a line of bracelets in China and in Japan at the moment, and was absolutely necessary that she take part in these talks with the Japanese Prime Minister.
I did see some talk about someone within the Trump campaign talking about getting his kids, with the exception of, is it Trish? Tiffany. With the exception of Tiffany,
the black sheep
high
of the
level
family.
security clearance.
Yeah.
So they get
and Ivanka's husband, he wanted to give him security clearance. So basically, it's a security clearances for his entire family.
It's interesting to think because Trump owns allegedly billions of dollars of hotels and businesses.
I think that's very allegedly. Yeah.
I think he's not going to surrender control of those to someone else while he's president.
Well,
unlike most other presidents who sort of disconnect themselves.
They are meant to put it into a blind trust. In this case, the blind trust is his children, and I don't think they're that blind.
Yeah.
So I think he's very.
There's also no law that means he has to put it into the trust.
Yeah.
He could just keep running them.
There's no law that says he has to reveal his tax records, which he's still refusing to do.
And apparently there are also moves that
I kind of have some sympathy for him on that though, because he is under an audit, and it would be better to wait until that was done. I don't know, just like
don't become president then.
No, look. If he eventually does release it at the end of the audit period, then fine. If he doesn't,
I do like that his excuse for not showing his tax records is, "Hey, I've been bankrupt 4 times and I'm currently under audit. So please do not make your soon-to-be president show his tax records." This should have been disqualifying during the race, but it wasn't.
Why would it be disqualifying? See, being under a federal investigation should have been disqualifying as well for Hillary. To be fair, both candidates have issues over their heads where you're like, well, look, if you really want to put them forward, people are going to have problems with those behaviour patterns. And they did with both those behaviour patterns. But they went forward with those candidates.
They had more problem with someone else's, yes.
But they like the establishment party, like, no, that's our candidates, we're sure.
Speaking of problems, Trump might have 99 problems, but the university ain't one anymore.
Trump University gone.
He's going to sell it. $25 million settlement. It's gone away.
Wow.
After boasting how he was going to vigorously defend the allegations.
Well, he's president now. He's probably too busy.
There is one other thing. He isn't president now. This is an important fact to remember, because apparently there is such a thing as faithless electoral college voters.
Nah.
Yeah, I think it's a very long shot.
Yeah.
And everyone who's putting it forward is also going, yeah, it's a very long shot. But basically, there is historic precedent where the electoral college votes, because they're real people that have to cast their vote, may not necessarily cast the vote the way they're meant to. And there's historic precedent for it happening. So
what happened?
It wasn't enough to make a difference. But
this is the problem you're going to have.
So it's never come to a point where it's been come to a point where it's been a proper issue. So
it's interesting though, because most states, I think there are 2. I think Nevada's one of them that have proportional votes, whereas everything else is winner takes all.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting if people started to move towards the proportional.
What they're pushing, there's a whole movement pushing to that because it's decided on a state by state basis, and there's a whole movement that are pushing that electoral votes should be allocated to the winner of the popular vote.
Yes. And
therefore, if they get half the states signing on to this agreement, by default,
they need states totaling 270 votes.
That's right, and they would as long as half the votes, states equaling half the votes signed onto it, then it would be a fait accompli. That's the way it would work. For people to try and, I actually don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. I mean, there was the one valid reason is that those electoral college votes were meant to give the non-city, like the non-city ends, the coastal ends like New York and LA, who have massive populations, and therefore the country would be massively outweighed in their favour as to certain decisions and give a little bit more weight to the rural vote. So I kind of understand why it's there in some ways, but it's been completely abused in many ways as well. So,
Are you just saying that because Donald won?
Well, no, it's not just Donald. It's also Bush. There's the two times it's happened where in this century has been Bush and Trump, where the electoral college vote has gone the other way from the popular vote, and we ended up with Bush.
Yeah, but I mean, the electoral vote the popular vote has no bearing on the
No, that's right.
It's a meaningless statement in some respects.
Yeah,
and the Bush thing. Let's just not talk about it.
Okay.
Right, no, the Bush thing, look, again, it was the Democratic Party fucking up. And this time again, the Democratic Party fucking up. Both times. With George Bush, it was more the fact that they ignored a very popular third-party candidate who took a bunch of votes away when...
No, actually, and that's a bit of a myth as well.
And
NADA did not affect that in quite the way. There was, once again, it comes up that there were 9% of Democratic voters that voted for Bush. Yeah. And there were less than that voted for NADA. So everyone trying to blame NADA, it was very much the Democratic Party.
I'm not trying to blame it. I'm saying that a large portion of Democratic votes went elsewhere. But this time it was 9% went just to the Republicans.
To Trump, yeah.
It was more than that under Bush. Right? But that aside,
so
pick better candidates, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Well, surely the Democrats have learned now, if, the Republicans put up a clown, that's a red flag. We've got to get someone with great charisma, great personality. We cannot put a subpar candidate up against
Apparently
the clown.
not. All indications say they want to put up the same establishment assholes that they like. The one they've been putting forward for in 4 years' time is Tim Kaine, who was the vice president on the losing ticket this time around. I mean,
Captain Snore.
Yeah. So the indications at the moment are that the Democratic Party has not learned its lesson at all. They want to blame Bernie Bros.
8 years in the wilderness then. That's fine.
Yeah. They want to blame Bernie Bros and sexism and misogyny for the reason that Hillary lost, when there's some very real reasons that she lost. So
I find it kind of frustrating, the number of people I encounter that are like, people didn't want to vote for a woman. It's like, man, don't simplify things. I mean, I get there were probably some people out there who didn't
there
want to
undoubtedly were some.
Probably some people who
But to be honest, those people were probably already voting for the Republican Party as well.
They were it's probably not the people we're talking. Like, there's not too many Democratic sexists out there.
Not to the level where they weren't.
I mean, okay, there's Bill Clinton. But
that's right. The most prominent Democratic
Democratic sexist is probably Bill Clinton. He's a bit of a misogynist. But there's not that many, and it's not that much to affect the vote.
Yeah, I would have suspected that most of them are already voting for the other team already. But
you think they're gay? Misogynists? I don't know. So moving on to my international news.
Yeah.
This is more just something I want to talk about because I think it's interesting. Two things I think are interesting. One, the first thing, just quietly after the American election, Canada changed their immigration laws to make it slightly easier for US citizens to immigrate. So they have a points-based system for qualification, and the people with the highest points bubble to the top. Now you get an extra 50 points if you are already living and working in Canada, which is available to anyone under NAFTA, which includes US citizens. So after this vote, any American listeners out there, if you want to go live in the glorious land of Justin Trudeaupia.
How hard is it for Australians to
go live in Canada?
To go live in Canada.
It's not too bad. They're a member of the Commonwealth. Like, it's pretty easy.
Well, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, after a certain age, it's very difficult to go to the UK and get a visa to work.
Well, that's because of Brexit. You're right. After 30, it becomes progressively harder.
Yeah.
But if you have a job in Canada waiting for you, then you can prove it couldn't be done by a Canadian. Not too hard, right? Just get a job that requires you not to be sorry for things. Done. Couldn't be done by a Canadian. Or maybe some sort of a job that requires you not to drink all the maple syrup as it comes down the press.
As long as the job requirement is ill-mannered asshole.
Yeah, I'm in.
Canadians are out.
So the other thing I thought was pretty interesting, the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, was this week traveling around Latin America. He went to visit a Chinese-built hydroelectric plant in Ecuador that they also funded through loans from China. He then attended a summit in Peru to meet with all the Latin American leaders, and then spent some time in Chile for the opening of the first local branch of the Chinese state-owned bank. He then, in additional Latin American news, in Venezuela, the Chinese state-run China National Petroleum Group just signed a $2.2 billion deal to boost oil production.
And so
Trump's going to build a wall to sort of just shut down people from Latin America migrating to America and probably feeling like they want to deal with America. And China, on the other hand, are funding infrastructure projects.
Well, this has been
massive ones.
They've been moving towards the BRIC group. So Brazil, Argentina, China,
Russia would be the other.
South America. I think South Africa as well was included in that. So they're trying to build up their own trading bloc.
Yeah, no.
And you're right. If America's going to be assholes about things, then why wouldn't they?
It's just like the timing of that is just like wonderful.
Plus, China's just got a lot of cash to throw around.
Yeah, and they also have a very long view of history. You know, they're pretty cool with just taking their time. Oh, Trump, you want to be a dickhead? Oh, we're just going to invest in these countries for a little bit. Yeah. Don't mind us.
They probably are looking at America as that young empire that's burning out rather quickly.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. The other interesting I thought saw come across my newsfeed that I haven't really notes down for, so don't quiz me too heavily on the details. But Russia's stepped up their airstrikes over Aleppo since Trump became president the last week, and they've bombed the shit out of the city. There's no functioning hospitals left. They took the last one out on the weekend in an effort to just shut down any opposition. So those rebels, I imagine, will be surrendering pretty soon because or dying. In
so
the streets.
At the risk of being a little bit Gary Jones here, what is Aleppo? No, which group was in charge of Aleppo? Because this is where I sometimes get a little bit confused in Syria as to Aleppo
anti-Assad.
Anti-Assad, but not ISIS.
Yes, anti-Assad, but not necessarily American supported either.
Right, because there's a bunch of different factions.
Yep,
and it's a little bit difficult. Okay,
it is a bit difficult, but they're basically lost now with Trump in charge. He doesn't care what Russia's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no-fly zone. They've just had the crap bombed out of them. Oh. Which, to be fair, probably is what the Russians were there to do, and they've done it.
Ironically,
Putin doesn't fuck around. When Putin says, "I'm going to come bomb you,"
the Russians said they left about 2 months ago.
Yeah. Well, I think they were probably anticipating a President Clinton too, Electric Boogaloo, and that didn't happen. So they're like, "Oh, Comrade Trump,"
who quite audibly has admired Putin many times over.
Yeah, and I think he's a fan of a strong show of force to quell dissidents. Take that, Black Lives Matter.
He's also said, Trump has also said quite vocally that he wants to curtail NATO, cut NATO way back, which I'm sure Russia will be more than happy with. So the Russian ascension begins.
And Chinese as well at the moment. People are definitely taking advantage of the power vacuum caused by President Trump. There's an economic vacuum in Latin America.
There's an intelligence vacuum caused by Trump as well. It's like they know that.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see just in this first week of his
that is interesting.
President-elect.
I guess the next step is a couple of the Baltic nations, maybe Latvia. They step into Latvia, see what Trump does.
I think you mean Western Russia. What is this Latvia?
It's a resort province. It's a seaside resort.
It's always been. This is where we holiday. You know how much Russian soldiers love to holiday. They're in Ukraine on holiday. They take their guns. They leave photos on the beach. Don't worry about it. Yeah. No, it's interesting to see.
Okay. Well, moving the spotlight of focus back onto domestic affairs. Pete Dutton was out on the road again.
Oh, potato.
He, I believe it was with Andrew Bolt.
It was an Andrew Bolt interview.
Shooting the breeze, and he had his gun sight set on former Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser.
Former Liberal Prime Minister.
Yes. Well, he actually resigned from the Liberal Party.
Yeah. But
we call him naughties. We call him woke Malcolm now.
Yeah. But Potato Dutton was blaming Malcolm for letting the wrong type of immigrants into the country, which are causing us problems. I'm using a lot of finger air quotes here.
Yeah.
So this is when Malcolm Fraser had a very progressive policy when it came to Vietnamese.
No, this is not Vietnamese. This is actually immigrants from Lebanon and Sudan in Africa.
Oh, well.
Sudanese and Lebanese.
Either way, the wrong kind of people, probably.
Apparently,
that's pretty much how Peter Dutton put it.
Yeah, Peter Dutton's obviously he's broken that drum, the blame Labour drum. It's just he's beaten that too much, and it's broken now. So he's got to find someone else to blame, and he doesn't want to blame his own Liberal Party. So he looks back 40 years into the past, and he's like, "Well, it's clearly Malcolm Fraser's fault. The current problems we're having in Victoria, nothing to do with my department or my leadership of that department. It's fucking Fraser's fault."
It's those immigrants that are probably now about 60 years old.
Yes, their kids. It's their kids. He went out and said it's the second generation. It's their kids.
Wow.
The problem. So Pete's full on racist.
Well, that's not a huge.
And he found his safe space in the Andrew Bolt area.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty safe for a conservative to be racist. Yeah, no, it was disappointing to see. I liked it though because it was
disappointing, but not unexpected.
It was good to see some growth from Peter Dutton. And it's not all Labor's fault. There's blame to go around.
Do you think how the Trump victory and obviously his campaigns enable political correctness to go by the wayside, or the veil of hiding, overt racism has now been uncovered? Do you think that's having a bit of knock-on effect of Australian politicians feeling
I think in general,
they need to go?
I noticed also this week Malcolm Turnbull came out attacking the elitist media, which was a Trump thing as well. So Malcolm Turnbull, Mr. Private fucking high school educator,
he's got to be careful.
Private degree, $200 million in the bank, lives in a fucking harbourside mansion that's more expensive and more nice than the lodge, the state house. So he doesn't live there; he lives in his own mansion. He's accusing people of being elite.
I guess he has to maybe ape some of these Trump mechanisms as well, because I mean, if he's not careful, the impossible might happen. And Tony Abbott,
well, Cory Bernardi's been
Tony Abbott actually could legitimately take on the elitist media, because Tony Abbott is not that well off compared to, say, Kevin Rudd or Malcolm Turnbull was.
Well, you had Cory Bernardi banging the drum that
Make Australia great again.
Australian politicians don't start listening to the minority of racists, that they're going to be rolled out of government.
Yep. I mean, they nearly were rolled out of government because they didn't listen to the right. That was the failure of the Liberal Party. We all know that Cory Bernardi was banging that drum.
Mm-hmm. He bangs a lot of drums all the way from the US.
Yeah, he does. He
gets a lot of undue media attention as well for a minor senator.
I think it's because he's controversial, and they like the controversy. I don't like Cory Bernardi as a person, but I like the way he's honest with his opinions. Like Malcolm Turnbull, just fucking sellout after sellout after sellout.
I have to call you up on that. Have you actually read his blog?
Yeah.
He just throws out, propaganda, and even the most basic bit of research shows they're all false news snippets.
Yeah, I know, but he believes it.
Yeah, okay. I agree that he believes it.
I genuinely think he believes it. So it angers me less than Turnbull. That's like some. It's like a hatchet job. Like one of Turnbull's advisors has gone, "Hey man, this Donald Trump thing is really popular. We need you to just like embrace Trump thing. So since you're on the ABC, I want you to attack the elite media." And so Turnbull's gone with it, and it's like
there is something. Yeah, I also.
Sincere.
I detest a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Turnbull is proving to be a massive hypocrite. Whereas, as you said, the one thing Cory Bernardi has is he really believes his hateful shit.
Yeah, he's a vile man, but at least he's honest about his vileness.
Whereas with Turnbull, he will simply go where the wind blows him. So he's a political. Well, he's not even a good one, but he's a political opportunist by the looks of it, and he will simply float. You don't know where he's going to end up because it depends on who's making the most noise and who's pushing him.
I think it was really ridiculous of him to go attack the ABC as being the elite, especially considering his background as well.
Especially considering how neutered the ABC has been.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. These are arguments I used to have with an acquaintance of mine where he would say, "Yeah, you've got your Fox News, which is clearly right-wing news, and you've got the ABC, which is clearly massively left-wing news," and I'm going, which ABC are you watching these days? Because they're just not like that at all. They barely call what is it, balls and strikes these days. They're not even particularly objective there.
Well, the right's always been obsessed by the ABC being leftist.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what news items they put up there. If they're not banging the government's drums, they're upset.
Well, I think they actually secretly want to be rid of the publicly funded broadcaster.
Oh, definitely.
It's not so much that they don't like what they're saying. It's just they want to undermine the case for having a publicly funded broadcaster entirely so they can cut it. And I suspect that's their end goal. I kind of wish we had have gone down the BBC path and had like independent funding from TV licenses, or like the Guardian has their own sort of trust fund. So it would be nice if the ABC was independent from the government and didn't have to worry about having their funding cut. So
a truly independent media outlet that can put the fire underneath the government of the day, which particularly the rightist governments have been over time trying desperately to hobble that news outlet from being able to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I also think it would be nice to have seen someone hold the Rudd-Gillard governments accountable for basically doing no action on same-sex marriage, for the Gillard government for doing no action on climate change, for rolling Kevin Rudd because of the climate change and the campaign taking on the mining companies, for their treatment of refugees. Like, they were no better.
The ABC seems to be squandering whatever kind of currency it ever had. And people, now I don't respect it terribly much because I know it just doesn't seem to be doing doing the work it needed to be doing. And so I don't give it as much validity as it used to have. So who can step in and do that? I mean, you got the Guardian.
Well, obviously, we're here. Why are you laughing?
There's 3 people in this country that are better informed than some.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about our potential 3 listeners.
I'm with you. We're doing our small bit, one at a time.
So, I mean, now if they do start to signal that alarm, who's going to be listening to them? I don't know. Have you ever tuned into Aquanda lately?
Not for a while.
Pretty fucking pointless, hey. Tony Jones. Oh my God, I detest that man.
Yeah, I there was a bit of a scandal 6 months ago with the ABC where it sort of revealed that they, had some strings to the Liberal Party, and ever since then I've been like, you know what? If you get rid of them, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. I
mean, I would care if Triple J went off the air. I would care about that. But for the I don't know. I think the ABC's it's in a bad place and it's not getting better.
The independent news space in Australia is not so flash either at the moment.
It's terrible.
I mean, there's just no money in that space for anyone to do any real investigative journalism. I mean, New Matilda was doing all right there for a while, but it seems to have gone off the tracks a little bit.
Even in so larger news organisations, they seem to have been cutting all their fact checkers and stuff like this. The money is going out of the news, and so the professionalism seems to be leaving. The journalists that are doing their best jobs they can, but a lot of the time people are just really not delivering what I would expect from a news organisation. So I imagine we're in a time of transition where these former big giants go away.
There's a space in the marketplace for us.
That's what we're feeling right now.
As inadequately as we can.
We do the best that 30 minutes of prep work can deliver.
30 minutes?
So I've got one more local story, and that is that Malcolm Turnbull this week announced that Gillian Trigg's contract will not be renewed at the end of the middle of next year. At the end of the current contract, she will not be renewed as the commissioner.
Way to be rewarded for doing your fucking job.
Yeah. Malcolm was at least pretty professional talking about, like contracts don't always get renewed in this business and stuff. Erica Betts, on the other hand, he went to town, that smug motherfucker with a smile on his face. He took the opportunity to label her as bumbling and incompetent, which seemed to be his areas of expertise, so I can see why he was so angry that she was retained so long, because
she stuck to her guns. I got a lot of respect for her.
Yeah, same.
She put up with a lot of shit.
Professor Trigg's been amazing. It's really disappointing to see the government stooping to this new low to silence her. Yeah. We'll just get rid of her.
So it wasn't just the government stooping. Like the amount of abuse she took from all sectors, like media, certain mainstream media, as well as the kind of assholes that must be on the Twitter sphere as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to be fair, they did the same thing to the Solicitor General. Anyone that disagrees with the government, they just, we'll make your life so hard, and then you'll go, and people will complain about it a little bit. The elite media might run the story, but the average Australian doesn't care. But I, for one, am really sorry to see her go.
That's two good people we've lost.
I wonder where she's going to move on to. I hope she gets because she's got a lot of credibility.
She's made some minor political mistakes along the way. But
what in our politics? What, she didn't back the right bullshit party?
No, not so much that. I think on her own part she did some. I can't remember what they were at the time, but some minor political transgressions. But overall, I think she was trying to do right by the position.
Yeah, she really was. She gave the report as it should have been given, and
no, she didn't. She didn't support the government.
Yeah,
and they chose to ignore it and call it bullshit. Yeah. Oh,
well, I mean, to be fair, they've been hiding from High Court challenges on all this as well. They think they know it's bullshit, and they can't get away with it. They just delay. And
it really comes down to our media not in any way holding them accountable on this kind of stuff, and just seem to be. I mean, it's very much along the same thing that happens in America, that both sides do it kind of thing. They just equate both sides and go, well, Labor hides this shit and the Liberals hide this shit. So the media goes, well, both sides do it, so that's all we're going to say. And and without actually holding the candle and say this is the way it should be. This should be done. This should be done correctly.
Well, this comes back to there's no money in the space of investigative journalism, because at the moment the mainstream press will only run a story if someone else does the work.
Yeah.
They're not doing the work themselves. So it's only if the likes of a new Matilda or so forth does the hard yards, gets the story out, will they give it a platform. Not the Australian, obviously, but
yeah.
So for instance, the story that they revealed with the Freya Newman, who revealed that Tony Abbott's daughter got the scholarship from that weird marketing.
And so the outcome of that was Freya Newman got prosecuted.
Yeah.
Right outcome. I kind of think it would be nicer if these legal appointments were just handled by the legal community. So the Solicitor General is voted on by the legal societies of Australia. Politicians don't get to assign who gets the role. It's like, okay, this is the best person. All the lawyers have voted. They reckon this is the guy for the job. Bang, he gets it.
You're talking about a fairly loose meritocracy there. I'm not sure I trust lawyers to vote on what is.
They all respected Justin Gleeson. All of the legal institutions came out in his defence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine, but as a decision making process, getting someone into that position, I'm just not sure.
Yeah, but would you rather?
I'm not sure all the lawyers have our best interests in heart.
No, but
you know what I mean? I don't think they're.
Would you rather George Brandis make the appointment?
It's not an either or.
Right now,
there's possibly a couple of other different ways we could do it, rather than having the legal profession decide what's best for the rest of Australia.
No, they're just putting up the Solicitor General, the man who interprets the law on behalf of the government. That's not like he's writing laws. They just go talk to him if they want to know if this law they're proposing aligns with the,
as you said,
Constitution.
Probably better than the current situation.
I just feel it'd be better. So it's completely impartial, independent government can't influence.
I'm not entirely sure it's the best way of doing it.
Because at the moment, the Solicitor General just independently verifies George Brandis' position.
Yeah. And George Brandis doesn't like it when they disagree, so he's going to find someone that agrees with him. Yeah. That's a bit shit.
Independently verifies George Brandis' decisions based on George Brandis' decision.
Yeah. It would also be better if the government of the day could not sack that person.
Yeah.
Like if that person was appointed by the legal community and they can only be removed by the legal community.
Because he resigned.
But Gillian Trigg, for example, is the same thing for the Human Rights Commission. That should be, again, an appointment from the legal community who decide that this is the person best suited to interpreting human rights law.
You're going to have to cut
and you
quit
can't
with this legal community thing. I just don't have as much trust in him as you do. But hang on, I also agree that they would be better than George Brandis.
It would just be better if the government they couldn't remove people they disagree with.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, there's certain appointments which are not political, and therefore they carry on regardless
work with these
of the
people.
government of the day, and there's some other mechanism for getting them there.
Yeah, I think it'd be better. I mean, look, if I have to take it, then we'll just get Prince Harry to assign him.
Oh. Okay, well, we are technically still in...
Well, did you hear Harry's having a kid? In Prince News?
No.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I heard he was getting married or something, yes.
He had a new girlfriend.
Yeah, and apparently she's pregnant.
Okay.
I think that's he was defending her in the media a lot lately, and then they've come out and said, look, we're pregnant.
Prince Harry got someone pregnant. Least surprising news ever.
I mean, he's a ginger, though. So, well done, Harry. Anyway, that's the only royal news I have.
That's good you did it, Frank.
Okay. I'm a fan of royalty.
I like Prince Harry. At least he had attitude.
Yeah. I like the ferocious way he came out in the media and told him to leave his missus alone as well. I thought that was kind of good. It's the least sort of typical royal family princely thing to do. Oh, and also there's a protest at the moment in Britain trying to make the royal family pay for their own fucking repairs to Buckingham Palace.
Yes, that was quite a 340 million Australian dollars.
Yeah,
it?
Yeah. In more royal news.
Yes.
I guess there's a couple of arguments either way. I mean, it does bring in a lot of tourist dollars, doesn't it? I guess that's one of the arguments is that their palace brings in tourist dollars for the nation. Yeah.
I've been to see Buckingham Palace.
I've walked past it.
I'm just saying, you know, like it brought in some tourist dollars for me. It's palace, guys with big hats.
I didn't divert back. I don't think I diverted my route to actually go and see it. It was on the way to somewhere. I was like, okay, let's go check this.
You're just going to go have a party with Harry. You're like, oh, hey, buddy. Oh, you're at the palace.
Yeah, on my list of reasons to do or do not go to London, Buckingham Palace is not on there.
It wasn't on there already.
On either column.
Yeah. Well, so you were neutral about it. Yeah. So maybe the government can pay for half.
Is that a wrap?
I'm done.
I think it is.
Done. Thank you for listening. I've been Franco.
I've been Jason.
I've been waterboarding Dean, apparently.
That wasn't on. Does that matter?
I hope not.